Hello friends. Tonight, we gently drift into the endless night of the cosmos, where silence stretches like an infinite ocean and stars shimmer like soft lanterns suspended in velvet. You step onto a quiet path of stardust, feeling the cool glow. Beneath your feet as a delicate breeze carries the faint scent of blooming worlds yet to be born. The air here is warm and gentle, almost like a whispered lullaby wrapping around you. If you enjoy this story, you might quietly tap like when you wake up tomorrow morning. Now dim the lights, curl up under your blankets, and let's glide into tonight's gentle tale. In the beginning, before even the gods came to know themselves, there was only the great void. Ginnungagap stretched far and wide, neither light nor dark, neither solid nor empty. Yet somewhere in the hushed folds of that yawning silence, a single seed drifted. It was not like any seed found in mortal soil. It shimmered faintly, as if made of starlight and dew, spinning slowly as unseen. Forces guided it through the currents of nothingness. The seed floated for what felt like an eternity, cradled by the soft waves of the void. And then ever so gently, it settled in a space where the icy breath of Niflheim met the fiery glow of Muspelheim. There, at the edge where frost and flame kissed, warm mist curled upward in translucent ribbons. The seed trembled in delight, sensing this tender balance. As time passed, though time itself had no meaning yet, the seed began to pulse faintly, like the first heartbeat of a sleeping creature. Tiny glowing roots unfurled and reached into the mists, tasting the sweet essence of melted ice and the faint embers of flame. Around it, Ginnungagap sighed softly, and in that sigh was the promise of life. Above, distant stars flickered in approval, their light cascading down in fine threads. These threads wove themselves around the seed, wrapping it in a cocoon of shimmering warmth. Slowly, the seed cracked open, not with a sound, but with a quiet exhale of light. A tiny sprout emerged, delicate yet determined, its tender leaves glowing with a pale golden hue. All around, unseen currents began to shift. The vast stillness of the cosmos was no longer empty. It now hummed softly, as if the sprout's breath had awakened a song buried deep within creation. And the sprout grew slowly at first, stretching a little higher each moment, its fragile stem swaying gently in the unseen breeze. In that silent nursery of frost and fire, the first roots of Yggdrasil, the tree of all worlds, began to take hold. Its story had only just begun, but already the cosmos seemed calmer, as though lulled by the presence of this tiny yet destined being. The dew of Ginnungagap clung like a silken veil around the tender sprout. It shimmered with faint iridescence, droplets forming and sliding gently down the slender stem to gather at its roots. This dew was no ordinary moisture. It was the breath of the void itself, born where Niflheim's icy vapors swirled and melted into the warm exhalations of Muspelheim's embers. Here, the sprout found nourishment not in soil or rain, but in the soft meeting of opposites, in the balance of chill and warmth. As the sprout grew taller, the mists thickened around it. Wisps of vapor curled upwards like sleepy spirits, wrapping the delicate leaves in a protective embrace. With every passing moment, the tiny plant absorbed these veils of mist, its faint glow intensifying as if drinking light from the air itself. Slowly, the sprout's fragile green began to deepen, edged with a luminous gold that seemed to hum softly in the stillness. Around it, the void sighed and shifted. The currents of Ginnungagap moved with a languid grace, neither rushing nor halting. From the mist rose small lights, glimmers of things yet unborn. They floated lazily, some twinkling like pale fireflies, others pulsing faintly like sleeping stars. They danced around the sapling in slow arcs, as if curious about this first growing thing, this new center in the emptiness. It was in this tender nursery that the first creatures arrived, not gods, not yet, but ancient, quiet beings whose forms were soft as smoke and bright as moonlight. They did not speak, nor did they touch the sapling, but they circled it in reverence. With their presence came a gentle warmth, like the soft glow of dawn spilling over the horizon. These primordial spirits exhaled their blessing into the mist, and the dew shimmered even brighter upon the sapling's roots. The tree stretched a little more, leaves unfurling like delicate hands to catch the invisible breeze. A faint hum began to drift from its tiny branches, a sound too soft for mortal ears, yet rich with promise. It was a lullaby for the cosmos, a song that would one day carry across all realms and whisper into the hearts of gods and mortals alike. And so, nurtured by the dew of Ginnungagap and the hushed care of unseen spirits, the sapling began to dream. Its dreams were long and slow, weaving visions of worlds to come, of skies filled with stars, of oceans and forests and creatures wandering through them. Above, stars glimmered brighter as though keeping watch, and the mist curled gently as it settled into a serene hush. In this sacred space, time had no edge, and the sapling grew uncradled in the eternal breath of frost and fire. Asterisk, asterisk. The sapling's roots sank deeper into the swirling mists, seeking strength from the endless well of Ginnungagap. It was still, young, its trunk slender and leaves fragile like fine silk, but something ancient stirred in response to its presence. From the furthest edges of the void, shapes began to emerge slowly, softly, as though they had been sleeping for countless ages. They were the primordial creatures, gentle and vast, their forms barely solid, their outlines shimmering like moonlight. On calm water, one drifted close, its body coiled in smooth, graceful arcs, scales glinting with pale opal light. It was the first great serpent, a guardian of flowing life. With a soundless breath, it exhaled a faint mist that wrapped itself around the sapling's trunk, offering a gift of flowing vitality. Then came a great bird, wings unfurled like banners of dawn. Each slow beat of its feathers stirred the air into warm currents, carrying flecks of golden light that settled on the tiny leaves. The sapling trembled, not in fear, but in recognition. The bird's gift was warmth, a tender fire to balance. The serpent's cool flow. On the ground near the roots, a soft padding sound echoed, and small, shadowy figures appeared, their eyes glinting like stars. They were gentle spirits of earth and night, bringing with them the essence of stillness and soil. Though there was no earth here yet, they curled around the base of the tree, whispering quiet blessings. Together, these beings formed a silent circle. They did not speak nor gesture, but their presence alone was a hymn of care. The sapling, sensing their attention, stretched a little higher. Its trunk thickened ever so slightly, and the faint hum emanating from its branches deepened into a soft chord, like the beginning of a symphony too tender for the mortal world. Golden light pooled where the branches spread, tiny motes of radiance, clustering like newborn stars. They clung to the tree's edges before floating away in lazy spirals, casting faint reflections on the mist below. The primordial creatures watched in calm reverence. They understood, perhaps more than the sapling itself, that this was no ordinary growth. This tree would not stop at a single realm. Its boughs would reach across all that was, all that is, and all that would be. And so, with each passing moment, Yggdrasil grew stronger. Its roots drank in the gifts of flow, warmth, and stillness. Its branches began to arch outward in graceful curves, like arms embracing the endless void. Around it, the primordial creatures lingered, silent and patient, their watchful eyes reflecting the faint glow of a destiny still unfolding. The air vibrated with a gentle harmony, and though no words were spoken, all that existed seemed to agree. This sapling must be protected, for in its heart slept the blueprint of worlds. The sapling no longer seemed fragile. Its trunk had thickened, rings of soft golden light spiraling faintly along its bark, as though tracing the gentle heartbeat of creation. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the little tree stretched its branches outward, reaching into the vastness of Ginnungagap with a quiet yearning. The first branch curved upward and brushed against a current of warm air from Muspelheim. As it touched the invisible tide of fire, the branch shimmered, its bark streaked with hues of glowing amber and soft scarlet. Another branch bent gracefully downward, trailing into the icy mists of Niflheim, its tips kissed with frost that glittered like delicate crystal. With each slow breath of the void, more branches unfurled in all directions. They arched and twisted, elegantly as though guided by invisible hands, weaving a vast, intricate canopy that began to form pathways. These pathways were not mere wood and leaf. They were threads of connection, soft and luminous, like silken bridges stretching across a darkened sea. Far above, tiny lights drifted closer, drawn like moths to a quiet flame. Sun came to rest on the branches, their glow merging with the tree's own radiance, while others danced among the leaves in slow spiral patterns. The air hummed gently, a sound so low and warm it seemed to seep into the fabric of the cosmos itself. It was in these unfolding moments that Yggdrasil's destiny began to take shape. As its branches extended farther and farther, they began to touch the first echoes of what would become realms 9 in total, each a cradle of its own mysteries. Though these realms were not yet fully formed, they stirred faintly at the tree's touch, their essence awakening as though recognizing an old friend. Soft winds whispered through the canopy, carrying with them faint fragrances, smoke and frost, salt and moss, wildflowers and starlight. The tree swayed gently in response, and as it moved, drops of silvery dew fell from its leaves, dissolving before they touched the misty void below. Each drop released a faint sigh, a note in the great song of creation. The primordial creatures watched in silence. Some had settled at the roots, curling around them in protective coils, while others perched lightly on the highest boughs. They were still and watchful, sensing the delicate balance forming within the tree's reach. It was here, in the unfolding of these branches, that the 9 realms found their anchor, though their names had yet to be spoken and their landscapes yet to bloom. Each realm was now tethered to Yggdrasil like beads upon a thread. The tree stood as the great connector, its presence weaving all things together in a calm and unending embrace. And so, in the soft hush of Ginnungagap, Yggdrasil's branches became the first bridges, glowing faintly against the infinite night. Its leaves rustled with a sound that was less like wind and more like a lullaby, soothing the fabric of existence into a gentle slumber. In time, Yggdrasil's branches grew thick with life, and its roots reached deep into the unseen folds of the void. The tree was no longer alone. Within its sprawling body, quiet movements began to rustle here, a faint scurry there, as if the universe itself had sent its first gentle inhabitants to dwell among the sacred wood. High in the branches, a small figure emerged. A squirrel, quick and light-footed, leapt gracefully from twig to twig. Its fur gleamed with a soft coppery glow, catching the pale light that drifted through the canopy. This was Ratatoskr, the nimble messenger, whose tiny paws scarcely bent the slender leaves as it darted upward. With every movement, it carried whispers, messages that it gathered like seeds, storing them within its clever heart before releasing them along the endless stretch of the tree. Ratatoskr paused for a moment, still and alert, its little nose quivering as it tasted the wind. Far below, deep in the earth's shadow where Yggdrasil's roots curled into darkness, another presence stirred. A long, sinuous form shifted beneath. The gnarled roots, scales glinting faintly like obsidian in faint starlight. This was Yggdrasil, the great serpent. It wound slowly around the roots, its body moving with a slow, deliberate rhythm. Where Ratatoskr was quick and sprightly, the serpent was heavy and calm, each movement like the silent slide of deep water. Its breath flowed in cool waves, mist curling around the roots as though the creature's presence alone brought the stillness of forgotten caves. It did not speak, yet its eyes, pale and endless, seemed to understand secrets buried even deeper than the roots it guarded. The tree itself felt these creatures' motions. Its branches quivered softly as Ratatoskr leapt from bough to bough, and its roots shifted ever so slightly as Yggdrasil coiled lazily beneath them. Both beings, so different in form and temperament, were part of a delicate balance, their existence weaving an invisible thread between sky and earth. Above, in the highest canopy, faint lights flickered spirits of air and starlight drawn to the squirrel's playful energy. Below, in the cool hush of the roots, the serpent's presence drew shadows and murmurs, echoing like soft chants. Yet, neither creature brought harm. Each in its own way served the tree, tending to unseen duties as Yggdrasil continued to grow. And so the great tree became a home, not just a bridge between realms, but a living sanctuary. Birds began to flutter in its branches, their feathers carrying faint whispers of coming seasons. Tiny luminous insects traced slow arcs through the air, their glow like falling stars caught in the leaves. Even in the deepest roots, small creatures of mist and shadow crept softly, their eyes gentle and curious. Yggdrasil's hum deepened, warm and steady, like a heartbeat that pulsed through every bough and root. The tree accepted these beings, Ratatoskr and Yggdrasil, light and shadow as part of its breath, its endless cycle of balance. And the universe listened quietly, lulled by the sound of leaves rustling in a soft, unhurried wind. Asterisk as the ages passed in gentle silence, Yggdrasil's branches became heavy with new wonders. From its slender twigs and broad boughs, tender buds began to swell soft and luminous, as though kissed by the light of 100 stars. Slowly the buds unfurled into golden leaves, their edges glowing faintly as if each held a quiet fire within. When the air stirred, the leaves shimmered, sending delicate ripples of light cascading through the canopy like reflections on a calm pool. Among these glowing leaves, small fruits began to appear. They were round and smooth, hanging like lanterns. In the dim light, their surfaces swirling with faint, ethereal colors, silver, emerald, and pale violet. These were no ordinary fruits. Inside each one slept a fragment of memory, a whisper of something yet to be or something long past. Dreams of gods and mortals, of forests and seas, of life and death, all glimmered faintly within their tender skins. At night, if night could be said to exist in that timeless void, the fruits pulsed gently, as though breathing in rhythm with the tree's heartbeat. Sometimes, a soft sound would rise from them, almost like the distant murmur of voices telling forgotten stories. The air beneath the branches grew thick with a sweet, calming scent that drifted down into the 9 realms, settling like a warm fog over all who slumbered there. Creatures came from near and far to gaze upon these gifts. Tiny winged spirits fluttered through the leaves, brushing their gossamer wings against the glowing fruits. The squirrel Ratatoskr would pause in its endless journeys to peer curiously at a fruit before darting away to carry messages. Even Yggdrasil, far below among the roots, would tilt its massive head and flick its forked tongue, tasting the faint hum of destiny that seeped down into the earth from above. Each fruit was precious. When one ripened fully, it would loosen from its stem and drift slowly downward, not falling with a thud, but gliding like a feather on a still breeze. Sometimes, a passing spirit would catch it midair, cradling it gently before carrying it into the wider cosmos. Other times, the fruit would dissolve before reaching the ground, releasing its memory into the roots below, where it sank deep to nourish the wells of wisdom hidden there. The golden leaves, too, were more than mere adornment. When they detached, they did not wither, but fluttered softly through the air, their glow fading only as they touched the mist below. In their descent, they whispered faint songs notes so delicate they could barely be heard, yet enough to soothe restless minds and still wandering thoughts. Yggdrasil itself seemed content, its hum deepening into a rich, steady chord that vibrated through its trunk, branches, and roots. It was as if the tree was aware of its role as keeper of these fruits and leaves, steward of memory and fate, holding the fragile balance of all things in its embrace. And far above, the stars continued to watch, their light mingling with the golden glow of the canopy. The 9 realms swayed faintly in their cradles, connected by unseen threads to the fruits and leaves of the world tree. In this gentle harmony, time passed like a river flowing without rush, each moment folding softly into the next. Deep among Yggdrasil's vast and tangled roots, a faint light glimmered. It came not from the tree itself, but from a hidden spring, a sacred well cradled in the darkness below. Its surface shimmered with soft pearly light, reflecting countless stars and yet revealing none of them. This was Mimmisbrunner, the well of wisdom, where all the memories that drifted down from the tree's glowing fruits gathered, settling like silken threads in its depths. Yggdrasil's roots wound tightly around the well, not in possession but in gentle protection. Cool streams trickled along the bark and into the well, carrying with them quiet echoes of lives above, the laughter of gods, the whisper of wind over Midgard's seas, and even the hushed prayers of mortals. These sounds seeped into the waters, until the well itself became heavy with knowing every drop holding fragments of time, of destiny, and of dreams. One day, or rather, in the slow unfolding of moments that were neither day nor night, a tall figure approached the roots. His cloak was dark as a raven's feather, and his single remaining eye gleamed faintly in the dim light. This was Odin, the Allfather, and he came not as a lord of gods, but as a seeker, humbled before the great tree's ancient wisdom. As Odin stepped carefully among the roots, the air grew thicker, humming faintly with Yggdrasil's deep, patient breath. Each footfall felt as if it echoed not just through the soil, but through the fabric of all 9 realms. Odin placed a calloused hand upon the tree's gnarled trunk, feeling the faint warmth beneath its bark, the steady heartbeat of existence pulsing there. In the stillness, the tree seemed to recognize him, not with thought, but with the subtle awareness of all living things. A faint vibration passed through its roots, a soft welcoming note in the endless song that bound creation together. Odin closed his eye and exhaled deeply, then turned to the well. To drink from these waters was no simple task. The price was great, requiring not coins nor trinkets, but a piece of oneself. And so, with quiet resolve, Odin loosened his spear and pressed his other eye into the cold waters, letting it sink like a pearl returning to the depths. The water accepted his offering without a ripple. For a moment, all was silent. Then the well seemed to brighten, faint streams of silvery light rising and curling around Odin like gentle threads of moonlight. Within the waters, visions stirred of stars birthing and fading, of trees blossoming and withering, of battles fought and lives lived, of secrets hidden beneath even the gods' understanding. Odin inhaled softly as these truths wound themselves into his being, settling deep into the empty space where his eye had once been. He did not speak. Words had no place in this quiet exchange, where knowing was too vast, too delicate for mortal tongues. As the visions faded, Odin stepped back from the well, his hand still resting gently on Yggdrasil's bark. A faint breeze stirred, carrying with it the scent of earth and starlight, of frost and fire. He nodded once in silent gratitude to the tree, then turned and walked away, the sound of his boots muffled by the mist. Far above, the golden leaves rustled faintly, as though sighing in approval. Yggdrasil's hum deepened once more, the steady pulse of its life continuing unchanged. And in the roots, the waters of Mimmisbrunner stilled, holding yet another secret in their endless embrace. Asterisk high above and deep below, Yggdrasil stood serene and unshaken, its branches still swaying gently in the unseen currents of the void. The tree's presence had become the heartbeat of all things, a soft, steady thrum that traveled through bark and leaf, root and fruit, and into the very fabric of the 9 realms. Its canopy was vast, a living sky of emerald and gold, where light danced and shadows flowed like water. Small stars clung lovingly to its boughs, their glow mingling with the soft gleam of the golden leaves. Threads of light wove between the branches like gossamer bridges, carrying faint whispers from one realm to another. Winds drifted through the leaves in delicate sighs, carrying with them scents both wild and sweet fresh earth, cool frost, and a faint perfume of unseen flowers blooming in the tree's embrace. In the roots, the great serpent Yggdrasil coiled and uncoiled in slow, deliberate rhythms. Each movement stirred the dark soil, sending faint vibrations into the water. Of Mimas Bronner, which shimmered with silvery ripples. The roots carried this energy upward, where it became a warm hum that pulsed through the tree's immense trunk and spilled into the canopy above. There, Ratatoskr darted nimbly from branch to branch, its tiny claws barely brushing the bark. The squirrel's quick movements seemed playful, yet each leap carried messages, small, weightless words traveling from the highest branches down to the deepest roots. It was the messenger of balance, ensuring that even the faintest whisper passed along the great axis of creation. Beneath Yggdrasil's shade, countless beings found shelter. Gods sat in quiet contemplation on its roots. Spirits of air and water danced among the leaves, and even mortal dreams brushed faintly against its trunk, leaving traces of longing and hope. The tree absorbed it all, not with burden, but with a calm acceptance that came from existing beyond time and change. And yet, Yggdrasil was not merely a witness to the universe, it was the breath of the universe itself. Each exhale from its canopy sent gentle currents rippling across the realms, stirring oceans and skies, carrying seeds across fertile fields, and guiding stars along their endless courses. Its inhale drew in all things, the laughter of children, the final sighs of heroes, the rustle of wind in quiet groves. All life flowed through the tree and back again in a soft and unending cycle. A golden light suffused Yggdrasil now, glowing softly from root to crown, as though the tree itself was alive with dreams. This was the world tree, the axis of all that ever was and all that ever will be, its presence steady and eternal. As the realms turned gently on their unseen threads, Yggdrasil's hum deepened into a low, warm chord. It was neither loud nor forceful, but it carried through every leaf, every branch, every hidden corner of existence. And as that sound reached outward, the world seemed to sigh in contentment, held safe in the embrace of the great tree. Here, in this timeless hush, all things were balanced, and Yggdrasil stood still, breathing softly in the center of it all. Asterisk, you are still here, cradled in the soft hush beneath Yggdrasil's branches. The air is warm and gentle, carrying the faint rustle of golden leaves overhead. You feel the quiet pulse of the world tree, its slow, steady breath moving through the roots and into your body like a calming tide. Each inhale draws in a cool, sweet fragrance like dew on moss, or the first rain falling on fertile earth. Each exhale carries away the weight of your thoughts, letting them drift like fallen leaves into the mist. You are safe here, wrapped in the soft embrace of the universe's heartbeat, the branches above spreading endlessly into starlit skies. Somewhere in the distance, the squirrel Ratatoskr leaps lightly, its tiny claws making no sound as it carries whispers from one bough to another. Far below, the great serpent shifts lazily, stirring the deep roots with a slow, fluid motion. But all is calm, all is gentle. Even the smallest movement here feels like part of an ancient lullaby that has no beginning and no end. As you breathe, you sense Yggdrasil's quiet strength around you. It holds the realms in balance, yet it asks nothing of you, only that you rest and let the slow rhythm of life flow around and through you. The golden glow of its leaves softens, dimming to a warm amber hue, like the last light of day melting into twilight. You close your eyes now, still feeling the tree's presence, its great branches arching above like a protective dome of light and air. Beneath your body, the roots are solid and reassuring, grounding you in this sacred space between earth and sky. And as Yggdrasil breathes, you too begin to drift, your thoughts growing quieter, your body lighter, your heart beating in time with the deep, steady hum of the world tree. You are safe, you are still. You are cradled gently at the center of all things. Sleep comes like a soft tide, and you let it carry you away beneath the velvet sky.